Well, we took a bus from New York City, about 45 of us. We all were ready to meet our sisters for a walk in Seneca Falls. Slept on the floor of a church overnight, got up in the morning early and bright to pay a friendly call on the Women's Hall of Fame. Honoring the feminists, community locals, the founding mothers of our not-too-distant past. Lucretia Mott, Jane Hunt, Harriet Tubman, Susan B. Anthony, and Elizabeth Cady Stanton. Well, we gathered en masse upon the lawn. We formed a circle and raised a song with our voices high and our banners drawn. A bunch of us, slightly over 100 in all, proceeded in an orderly fashion, gaily forward. Up the straight and narrow and formerly public sidewalk in the town of Seneca Falls. Well, our peace parade moved right along, and we carefully stayed off the townsfolk's lawns and were totally amazed when an egg was thrown from the uppermost flag drape window of a two-story home. Didn't do too much damage, but it looked as though our 15-mile hike was indeed going to be a long one. When a message came down from some women who knew and had seen just what we were about to go through a mile or two up the road in a town called Waterloo. Waterloo. Do you recall what happened to Napoleon Bonaparte when he visited there some time ago? Do you? Well, never mind, we said. We'll go straight on through. Singing, "This land is your land, we live here too." In what hitherto and somewhat mistakenly, I supposed, was still considered a free country. Well, we got to the bridge, and to our dismay, there were hundreds of town people blocking the way, waving little American flags stapled to sharp, pointy sticks. Screaming, "Nuke the Lezzies and kill the Jews, let's get some blood on the evening news, go home, commies." But all we were trying to do was to stop the deployment of the Pershing and Cruise, and to honor our fine founding mothers and our fine founding sisters along the way. We were mighty concerned about the menfolk's flatteries, and the sheriff's bullhorn had run out of batteries, so none of the sides could figure out what was being said exactly, but it was getting awfully loud. But that sheriff kept getting smaller and smaller, while the peace camp women got taller and taller, which was pretty damned amazing, because by then we were all sitting down in our circle again, on the asphalt lawn, on the sticky black pavement, at the very peak of the mid-afternoon, July 30th, Waterloo. Sun. Let's have a meeting with the Waterloo 54. Well, we reached consensus soon, I'd say, and agreed indeed it was here we'd stay. The KKK can stand in the way of the bridge, but cannot, I repeat, cannot kill the spirit. But those kindly townspeople were about to throw us over the bridge to the river below us, but not until they killed us first with their sharp, pointy sticks, or smothered us in the flag. With guns and feet, four-letter words and fists, they yelled and they swung and they swung and they missed. But the sit-down women, I said the sit-down women? Yeah, the sit-down women were accused of inciting a riot. Now a man came out, raised... Alright. Now a man came out, raised a loaded gun, but he was just a local boy having him some fun, so they hauled him in and let him right out again on just a tiny little bitty bit of bail. But the brave and mighty Sheriff Greer was worried about election year, so him and a couple of dozen cops in riot gear dragged the Waterloo 54 off to jail. For their own protection, of course, but mainly for the protection of the sheriff's job, of course. But none of the women ever backed down. A sidewalk is public, whether village or town, and there ain't no judge's cousin or police chief's son that you dare to think he could ever own one. The 54 women held fast that day, being dragged to the wagon and taken away, unjustly arrested, falsely detained, and now about to be arraigned on a misused, much abused charge of disorderly conduct. That's, quote, disorderly conduct, unquote. Strange how none of them walked up flag-waving, hellion, spewing all kind of vile obscenities, breaking through the police lines, trying to get at the women were not considered disorderly. Of course, boys will be boys. In the meantime, the sheriff searched high and low for the judge while the D.A. Diller was sitting drunk in a fancy little country club a few miles down the road. Yep, Huey Diller had been drinking hard, and the judge was home in his own backyard having a little Saturday night barbecue with his family, friends, and neighbors. And wasn't in the mood to do any favors for the cowardly sheriff, the drunk D.A., or just about anybody, especially ones he didn't even know, but was about to meet the mighty expanding family of the Sisters Doe. None of whom looked anything alike, but all of whom had identical first and last names, Jane Doe. In the meantime, the sheriff searched high and low for a judge while the D.A. Diller was sitting drunk in a fancy little country club a few miles down the road. Yep, Huey Diller had been drinking hard, and the judge was home in his own backyard having a little Saturday night barbecue with his family, friends, and neighbors. And wasn't in the mood to do any favors for the cowardly sheriff, the drunk D.A., or just about anybody, especially ones he didn't even know, but was about to meet the mighty expanding family of the Sisters Doe. None of whom looked anything alike, but all of whom had identical first and last names, Jane Doe. The magistrate, sunburned and grim, couldn't believe what had happened to him, that even he was being dragged in on a Saturday night to arraign some innocent women for walking on a sidewalk. Falsely arrested, unjustly detained, the Waterloo women agreed to maintain dignity, composure, solidarity, and silence. And that was just for openers. You take that verse again. The magistrate, sunburned and grim, couldn't believe what had happened to him, that even he was being dragged in on a Saturday night to arraign some innocent women for walking on a sidewalk. Falsely accused, unjustly detained, the Waterloo women agreed to maintain dignity, composure, solidarity, and silence. And that was just for openers. What's your name, Jane Doe? What's your name, Jane Doe? The first woman said, and they threatened her with all they threaten women with if you don't tell them who you are from the very start. We'll take your property, your watch, and your car, and then we'll even add on an extra charge, obstructing governmental processes. We'll put you all behind bars for a year. Who the hell do you think you are, anyway? Jane Doe, the second woman, said the exact same thing, and so did the third and the fourth and the fifth, and so it went on down the line. Mothers, sisters, daughters, and wives, sharing one of the truly amazing adventures of our lives in the rapidly expanding family of the Sisters Doe. My, how they multiply. Well, we all got moved to the Interlaken jail, and we were all held on $50 bail, in which we all refused to pay, and awaited a court date 5 days away. Then Julie came in to save the day. Legal counsel, she said, we'll do what we can. Come on, Julie, just get us out of here and on our way. Well, she said, we'll do what we can. Well, we tried to figure out what we'd do and say, and worked out the details of bail solidarity, and even did local outreach in a limited way, due to the nature of our geographical area. Mona was our guardian, solid all the way, brought in the veggies, took the junk food away, and even brought us some cigarettes as we watched day merge into day. August 1st, we were ready for action, but separated from our peace camp faction, so we thought we'd start a little reaction of our own to what was going on outside at the Seneca Gate without us. So we sacked Arcott's blockade at the door and raided the Pepsi from the lunchroom refrigerator, chanted and sang and danced on the floor, till they sprayed the mace through the kitchen window. Now the paper said that the food was flying. We were even throwing furniture at each other, but they were lying, trying to make it appear that we were creating a distraction. Well, the truth of the matter was, at 8 in the morning, long before the blockade of the jailhouse dorm, while the guards were busy playing frisbee on the lawn, two little ones so brave and strong, got a wild hair somewhere, got over being scared, jumped out a window and simply disappeared. It was a long, long time. About 14 hours and 12 head counts later before they were even discovered missing. escaped. In legal jargon, this constitutes a felony. And this, of course, opened up the rest of the women to the standard prison harassment technique of the strip search. What was that? The strip search. Well, the matrons came at us wearing rubber gloves. Things came to push, things came to shove, and we assured those junior high school jailhouse guards that we weren't hiding any prisoners up our vaginas. Girls, she yelled. Women, we said. All right, girls, she said. Women. We're looking for razor blades, knives, guns, bombs, rubber bands, and any other deadly weapons you may have smuggled on your 20-foot walk from the cafeteria to the bathroom. But we all sat down and we all held hands in a tight little circle and refused to stand for this indignity and simply wouldn't move. I got herpes and AIDS, I cried, and then sat back and waited for the panic to subside. The prison guards were utterly horrified. After all, it's what they suspected all along. But it wasn't until Barbara Jane Doe, tribal elder among the wisest of all, stood up and spoke to one and to all, and a feeling of calm came over that hall. Now the hour is late, and we're tired and worn, but we're willing to talk for however long it takes to establish some communal respect. And that's just exactly what we did. We know that the guards have difficult jobs, and the women here face unlikely odds that we'll ever be able to leave here unconditionally free and clear. Well, eventually it came round to August the 3rd, the day that Dane... Well, eventually it came round to August the 3rd, the day that the Jane Does were allowed to be heard. There were 43 of us left in the prison yard, and hundreds more being banned and barred at the Seneca Women's Encampment for a future of peace and justice. Right next door to the Seneca Army Death Dealing Depot in the teeming metropolis, the town of Romulus, New York, just off Route 96. Well, some 15 does had our private say. We were given trial dates a month away, and we all announced we would refuse to stay on hand to participate in such a miscarriage of justice. Well, the DA sat with beady little eyes and a starchy white collar. He just realized how much this illegal detainment was actually costing. And he knew he'd never recover those dollars. He was wilting in the heat like week-old flowers. So he called a recess and conferred for a couple of hours with the judge. And to this day is probably holding a grudge because he couldn't convict us of a charge that didn't exist. Now, Jane from Vienna spoke of the Nazis. Jane from Nebraska complained of the Klan. Jane from Virginia spoke of the waste and how we neglected the elders of our land. With one mass hearing, they met our demands. We got back our fingerprints and photographs. And the Waterloo 54 walked out the door, even freer than we were 5 days before. She wrote no more. But praise the goddess, and long live the name of those fine, fine women. Waterloo 54. I'm walking down that muddy field. I've got rain in both my shoes. I'm walking down that muddy field. I've got rain in both my shoes. There's so much we stand to lose. I've got the Seneca Women's Encampment for a future of peace and justice blues. Now I came late to work yesterday. I might call in sick tomorrow. I'll hang on the gate of that Seneca fence, 'cause there's some rules you just cannot follow, and there's so much you stand to lose. I've got the Seneca Women's Encampment for a future of peace and justice blues. Now Ronnie's got a big gun. got a bullet for a brain, and yours got a big gun. Capitalist and communist game, there's so much we stand to lose. I've got the Seneca Women's Encampment for a future of peace and justice blues. So blew it. Them nuclear burns on the skin, they say get awful hot. And Uncle Sam's dipping in, taking what we ain't got. There's so much we stand to lose. I've got the Seneca Women's Encampment for a future of peace and justice blues. So come on, all you women, camping on this land. Come on, all you women, out here on no man's land. There's so much we stand to lose. We've got the Seneca Women's Encampment for the future of peace and justice. Got the Seneca Women's Encampment for the future of peace and justice. Got the Seneca Women's Encampment for the future of peace and justice blues. Hope you can segue. I'm walking through that muddy field. I've got rain in both my shoes. I'm walking through that muddy field. I've got rain in both my shoes. There's so much we stand to lose. I've got the Seneca Women's Encampment for a future of peace and justice blues. I came late to work yesterday. I might call in sick tomorrow. I'll hang on the gate of that Seneca fence, 'cause there's some rules you just cannot follow, and there's so much you stand to lose. I've got the Seneca Women's Encampment for a future of peace and justice blues. Now Ronnie's got a big gun. He's got a bullet for a brain, and yours got a big gun. Capitalist and communist game, there's so much we stand to lose. I've got the Seneca Women's Encampment for a future of peace and justice blues. Them nuclear burns on the skin, they say get awful hot. And Uncle Sam's dipping in, taking what we ain't got, and there's so much we stand to lose. I've got the Seneca Women's Encampment for a future of peace and justice blues. So come on, all you women, camping on this land. Come on, all you women, out here on no man's